Thank you for joining us on today's edition of the platform. And today we shall be looking at a very important issue. God created man in his own image, and that means people are equal and are important before God. But however, over time in history, we have had issues and challenges about how people are treated. People have been taken into slavery, slave trade occurred. But again, humanity began to realize the importance that this is inhuman and not in tandem with what God desires. But the practice still goes on. And statistics reveal that some of the countries with the highest of this, India is noted among countries with the highest of cases of human trafficking. The Nigerian government has taken steps to also mitigate this human trafficking. We shall be looking at human trafficking in Nigeria, and our guest is one who is in the business of ensuring that this things is reduced to the barest minimum. My name is Yakubu Tadi, and I would want you to follow the conversation. You can join us. Our handles will be on the screen as we go on with the conversation. So, can you tell our viewer who you are and your position?
My name is Adole Alexander Gada. I'm an assistant director with National Agency for the Prohibition of Human Trafficking. Presently, I am the state commander of NAPTIP in Plateau State.
I would say welcome to Plateau State.
Thank you very much, sir.
I'm sure this is not your first time, but officially this is where we have a commander on ground.
Yes. Plateau State Command of NAPTIP started in 2021 with the establishment of a liaison office in Plateau State here. The state governor inaugurated the anti-human trafficking task force on the day of the inauguration of the office. And the Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice is the chairman of the task force. Before then, Plateau State was under Benue Command, zonal office in Makurdi. We were operating from Makurdi, but because of the various cases and serious cases from Plateau State here, a lot of convictions, a lot of children that were trafficked out and being united with their parents, that calls for a command status of our office in Plateau State.
But let's get back to the basics, because let people just begin to see what is NAPTIP. What actually is NAPTIP and its mandate?
NAPTIP is National Agency for Prohibition of Human Trafficking. And the office came into being in 2003 with the enactment of the Prohibition, Trafficking and Administration Act of NAPTIP. NAPTIP, because of a lot of trafficking issues in this country and a lot of issues arising from taking our children outside the country and all that calls for introduction of NAPTIP and the act governing NAPTIP in Nigeria.
Okay, we're looking at these factors that before people would think that it's going out. How is this trafficking taking place? Is it just international, or does it also involve a domestic component where people are also trafficked internally?
Human trafficking generally is a movement of people from one place to another for purposes of exploitation. It could be internal when people are moved from one local government to another or from one state to another for the purpose of this exploitation. And it could be external when somebody is taken outside the country across the border.
Okay, I have gotten some statistics online about certain facts relating to human trafficking. It is global statistics. Between 2008 and 2019, the number of human trafficking victims identified worldwide more than tripled, from 30,961 to over 105,000. Then the second issue is a share of human trafficking victims who were sexually exploited in 2018 is 50%. And country with highest number of people in modern slavery is India. Now, another statistics gives it that country with the highest number of people in modern slavery is North Korea. Share of victims that were children in 2018 is 34%. And share of female victims trafficked for sexual exploitation, 77%. And share of victims trafficked domestically, 43%. Now, how does this information come to you?
Human trafficking generally is a very lucrative business. And a lot of people goes into it because of the money they get from it. Generally, pointing it down to this country, a lot of people goes into this human trafficking because of the money they get from it. Human trafficking is the second most lucrative business apart from arms dealing in the world. So because of that, a lot of people are into that business because of the game and the wealth they are getting from it.
What are those things that trigger people apart from that? So the gains, okay, parents now, they don't get, the people who give out, they don't get that money. It's the traffickers who get the money. So what are those things that entice parents to give out their children? So I understand some are taken forcefully.
Yes. Human trafficking generally is a game of deception. Most of the times, the traffickers, when they come to these parents, they don't even tell them that this is what your children are going to do. They deceive them by telling them that they want to go and give their children a very good job somewhere. They are going to put them in school. They are going to do this. They are going to do that. And at the end, reverse is the case. So many of the people that have been taken out of this country for this sexual exploitation and the rest of the things, they did not even know that this is what they are going to do, because the traffickers do not tell them the truth. A lot of things contribute to this trafficking issue. First, we can look at the poverty rate in the country. Many people are poor, and because of that, whenever traffickers come to them and deceive them that this is what they are going to do, that their children are going to work and they will be bringing them money, they will not look back. They will just go ahead and give their children to them to go and exploit. And at the end, the reverse is the case.
Okay, we're looking at Nigeria as a whole and Plateau State. Mostly people were thinking, no, you go to Edo particularly and Delta, where you think that, yes, Italy, there's a relationship. But were we also not keeping our eyes on the ball and looking up north? Because like you said, Plateau had to be upgraded to a command status. And that also, it gets me worried when you said that. It seems we have a monster. How serious is the problem on the Plateau?
Looking at Plateau State, from the stock so far we have taken as officers in NAPTIP, Plateau State is a source and a destination state. A source in the sense that people come to Plateau to take away children to other places like Abuja, Lagos, to the west to go and work in the cocoa plantation and the rest of the things. Plateau State environment, and probably because of the non-employment and a lot of things, people take that into advantage and they come to Plateau State to take a lot of children out of this place. We opened the office here in 2001, and between 2001 to date, we have recorded 78 cases of human trafficking. Some of these cases borders on custody, which we refer to State Ministry of Women Affairs and the rest. Then, within this date, we have also rescued 121 victims of human trafficking in Plateau State. We have already reunite them with their parents, but about 6 of these victims are still in our custody. And because we have skill acquisition programs, 4 of these victims are in school. 1 is learning trade, that is tailoring. And the 6th one is a victim that was sexually abused by her father. It's a 17-year-old girl. She has already given birth and she's in our custody.
So this is very worrisome. You're looking at these victims, you're looking at the stats and the people. What is their experience? I'm sure they share experiences with you.
Yeah.
The circumstances under which they left and how they were treated. What is their experience like? Most of them.
Most of the victims we have come across, most of them, they don't even know that they are going to be trafficked. Some of them, because of peer group influence, they follow their friend. They don't even know when their friend will take them to where they are not supposed to go. And some of the victims, too, they complained of poverty, hunger in the land. It's one of the reasons that
so they willingly accept
to go. When you are poor and you are idle, a lot of things come into play. Like there was a case I handled in Makurdi when I was the head of operation. It was a case that the governor himself brought to our office. There was a woman that gave birth to a child, and that child was in the house. The woman went out, and her daughter, a child of 13 years old, was taking care of the child. And there's a guy in that compound who is idle. Every morning when others are going out, he's at home. So one day, the woman went out and he now gave money to the little girl that was taking care of the child, that the girl should go and buy something for him. So when the girl went, this man stole this child and sold it to a woman, and they took this child to Abia State. The governor himself brought this case to my office. I was the head of operation. He gave out some money, and we went into investigation. When I interviewed the woman, she told me what happened. So that very day, before the day could break, we have to give invitation letter to the young man and invite him to our office. And I was asking him, for more than 5 days, he did not tell us that he was the one that took this child away. But when we started working on him, about the 7th day, he came and confessed to me that he was the one that took the child. I said, where is the child? He said he sold it to one woman, and the woman has taken the child to Abia State. So quickly the governor has to intervene by giving us some money and even giving us an operational vehicle from the government house. I took my boys and we went to Abia State. We apprehended this woman. She gave the child to another person, and they said they were waiting for a buyer from Lagos to come and take away this child. So we were able to rescue the child. We brought the suspect and every one of them to Makurdi. And I was asking this young man, I learned that always you are in the house. Why can't you go and look for something to do? And you are telling me that it is poverty that has driven you to go and do this thing now. You are idle. Idleness and poverty goes together. But even if you are poor and you have something to do, you cannot go into this trafficking, because
is he educated, and to what extent?
He was a university graduate.
No skills.
He was a graduate.
Okay.
And I learned that he's always in the house. He doesn't do anything.
So what now should people begin to look at? As you've been on the field for a long time, and director of operations is like the brain box of an institution before being commander. What are those things that people should, when people begin to come and tell you one or two things, what are those things you should begin to get worried when some people are asking requests, okay, give me your children, we want to do ABC for them, or take them away, or things like that?
Generally, traffickers always come with deception. They can never come and tell you that this is the real thing I want your child to do. But the only thing we have to do is, we in NAPTIP, we have been carrying out a lot of public enlightenment to the rural areas to tell them what and what these traffickers are doing, the tricks they use to go and deceive people from their various localities and homes, especially the rural areas. We used to go and tell them, if anybody comes and say, give me your child, let me take him to school, let me go and give him job, let me go and give him this and that, don't take it. Because in Jos here, there was an orphanage home we closed down last year. That orphanage home is called Our Lordship Orphanage Home in Gorondok in the Abattoir area. It was opened by two people from Plateau State and a lady, a woman from Cross River State. What they do is that they go down to the rural areas and deceive these parents that they want to take their children, they want to train them, they want to do this, they want to take them to school that they will become big leaders tomorrow. And these parents, they don't know that these people have come to trick them to take away their children. So they opened this orphanage home. There were lots of children in that orphanage home. One day, this woman was going to the south with 5 or more of these children, and she was apprehended at Makurdi. And she was brought back to Jos here. It was then we went into the orphanage home, we carried out our search, and we recovered 68 children.
68?
68 children in Plateau State here. Most of these children are from Adamawa State, and Taraba State. Then the rest are from Plateau State here.
So what is the impact of crisis? Because sometimes it looks like from the Plateau has had its fair share of conflict and some other places. What is the impact of crisis on human trafficking?
There's a lot of impact, especially on the victims. Like we have a case currently right now in Jute. There was a victim that came back from Mali last week. She was there with her madam. She was deceived, according to her, because I interviewed her in the hospital yesterday. According to her, she was deceived into prostitution. She didn't know. They told her that she was going to do another job in Mali, and they took her from Jos here. When they went there, it was a different game altogether. They pushed her into prostitution, and she's a woman of 19 years old. Either her body mechanism could not take what comes out of prostitution, and she became sick. And she told her madam that she wanted to come back. The madam barely gave her just 15,000 naira out of her money that she has been making. She came to Lagos. That money barely took her to Lagos. And when she came to Lagos, she was sick. She was looking here and there, and some other persons have to help her to give her money to come to Jos here. By the time she arrived Jos here, she was extremely sick. Even the keke that took her to the police headquarters, she could barely come down from the keke. So the police directed them to NAPTIP. They couldn't locate our office. They went to Civil Defense Office, and they called us. We went there, and when we saw this woman, she was shivering. In Civil Defense Office there, they have to boil water and bath this woman. And she was stooling, she was urinating, her legs were swollen up, she didn't even know herself.
Okay, let's get to issue of sanctions and prosecution. Because if there is no deterrent, people will continue to do it. How easy is it, or how difficult is it to have convictions when you have people. What is the case of those with the illegal orphanage? I can call it illegal at Barandok. What is the case there? Where are we with that case? And what are the mechanisms, what are the sanctions against those people? And how easy is it to get convictions?
The illegal orphanage in Barandok has been sealed off. That is part of our duties. And the case is right in the court. The case is right in the court. The suspects has been bailed. And those children, the 68 children we got from there has been reunited with their parents, both in Plateau here and in Adamawa and Taraba State. But recently, those two suspects, they have other children that they took to the south, to Port Harcourt and other places. So they went there because they are right now under bail and the case is in the court. They went to Port Harcourt to check some of these children, probably to collect money from those people they gave them out to. And there was a conflict between them and some of their
clients.
Yes. And they were arrested. I think about 2 weeks, I was in Abuja, they called me that those suspects that operated the orphanage home in Jos, 2 of them has been arrested in Port Harcourt with 2 victims. And we wrote a letter to the police and told them that they should hand over the victims and the suspect to us, that already we are investigating that case in Jos. And up till now, the police has not handed over the case to us.
Okay.
And they confessed. And they confessed that they have some other victims from Plateau State in Port Harcourt, and they have other 20 children from Plateau State here in Abia State.
So you request the intervention of the state government?
Yes.
Have you liaised with them on this matter?
Of course. Since we came, we've written several letters to the state government, because where we are in the Federal Secretariat, we are not supposed to be there because we deal with victims and suspects.
Okay, we'll come to that. You mentioned one important issue, orphanages. There is an increase in number of orphanages and also football academies.
Yeah.
Are you telling us to put further interest and a searchlight? It may just be a camouflage or to do something more sinister. How should we look at them now?
Before now, there have been a lot of increase in football academies. People tend to recruit young boys and girls out of this country using football academy as a source. And also these orphanage homes, a lot of them carry out a lot of activities that are not in line with human activities. Right now in my headquarter office in Abuja, for any football academy to take any child or any person out of this country for any football activities, they have to come for screening and register with NAPTIP. Even orphanage homes, right now, there is an order that they have to register and be screened by NAPTIP before they go into operation.
That's interesting. So for people, for communities, for community leaders, because you've started advocacy.
Yeah.
You've been to PRCV. I also monitored you. You went to the chairman of the Plateau State Council of Chiefs and Emirs in the Bongom Jos, and you're also going to other places. What central message would you want people to take away from this program?
Human trafficking generally is evil, and it's a crime against humanity. And it's highly disgracing when you travel out of this country and see the activities of human trafficking, especially Nigerian women, how they parade themselves in the streets of Europe and other places. So I want to appeal to stakeholders and every spirited individuals to join hand with NAPTIP to put this evil that has engulfed our society away.
Thank you very much for this conversation, and we shall also bring you from time to time to give us update to educate the public about this evil. And viewer, that's the much we can take. It's our collective responsibility to ensure that, yes, we alert relevant authorities once we notice unusual happenings in homes or orphanages or football academies or any other thing. Dehumanization of persons is very, very sad, and it's not good. So all of us must work with NAFTIP and relevant authorities. And let me appreciate my guest, Mr. Adole Alexander Agada, Triple A. Thank you for finding time to
Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah.